And when they answer me for yes and no, I get touched on my face. When it's going across my eyebrow or somewhere on my forehead or on my head, feels like a finger's running across my head. And that's a yes. When I get a no, it feels like a tear is running down my face. Same thing.
Hey everyone, welcome to Paranormal Among Us. Guys, I have a great show lined up for you today. We'll be talking with Daniel Jackson, who is a spirit medium. He's going to tell us about being a medium and what led him to write his book, The New Beginning. It's a very interesting story, so stay tuned for that in just a few minutes. But before we get to Daniel, I want to remind you guys that if you have any kind of paranormal stories, ghost sightings, UFO sightings, alien encounters, or anything that can't be explained, please send me an email at paranormalamongus72@gmail.com. That's paranormalamongus72@gmail.com. And I'll read your story on a future episode. Or, if you would like, you can come on here and be a guest and tell the story yourself. Either way, we'll be in touch. Also, make sure that you click on that like button as well as that subscribe button so you don't miss anything that will be coming up. Okay, up next, we're going to talk to a spirit medium, Daniel Jackson. And joining me now is a spirit medium. Guys, this is going to be a fantastic show. Daniel Jackson. Daniel, thank you for taking the time to chat with us today.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
First of all, let's talk about your book. You can see the book behind you. It's called The New Beginning, correct?
The New Beginning, My Awakening as a Spirit Medium. But the new beginning part is not about me. It's about everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
What
led you to write that book?
I never thought I would ever write a book, but the way that I meditate, when I sit in a room and meditate, I just close my eyes and I play some what's called binaural beats on my little phone, yeah, and I stick it up with a Bluetooth speaker and I stick it in the corner of the room, and then the music comes out, engulfs the room. I'm in, like that. When I'm meditating, I can talk to spirit just like this. I don't have to go om or any of that bull crap that's out there. I can talk to them just like this. I don't have to talk to them in my mind, but sometimes I do. And one of those moments when I was doing that, they show me things in video form or in cartoon form. And they showed me a cartoon of a man sitting at a table, and he was writing on something. He had this like robe on, but he had a white beard. He kind of looked like me, and he was writing on looked like scrolls. And I said to them, I said, looks like he's writing something. Now, when they answer me for yes and no, I get touched on my face. When it's going across my eyebrow or somewhere on my forehead or on my head, feels like a finger's running across my head, and that's a yes. When I get a no, it feels like a tear is running down my face. Same thing. So I said, that looks like he's writing something there. And I got, yes. And then I said, I wonder what he's writing. And then they showed me a picture of a piece of paper that had my handwriting on it. And I said to them, what do you want me to write a book? And I got touched yes again. And I was like, what am I going to write about? And then I heard in my mind, you're going to write about your story. I mean, I hear it right in my mind. I hear it being spoken to me. That was in the very beginning. Now it's not. It's sometimes it's spoken to me, but now more or less it's just my own thought. It's just they put it in, and it sounds like my head voice, but I know it's coming from somewhere else. So when they showed me this picture, and I said, writing a book, that's what they wanted me to do. Now, when I actually got around to it was a little bit of time, a few years, because life gets in the way. My mother was not doing so well. My wife's mother was not doing so well. So when it come time that all that was passed, because they passed, I started writing the book. And I started writing everything about my story, about how everything happened to me and for me. Mm-hmm. And I started writing, I think, in June of 2021. And I finished writing it in October of 21. And then my wife and I were moving soon. And so by the time we moved, we got out here to Arizona from Delaware. And then we started finalizing the book. And I had a friend of mine who is also a medium, who's also an editor. She edited the book for us. She's actually in the book. I just don't mention any names of the people in the book. But she edited the book for us, and then we put it out on Amazon. But one of the cool things about the book, there's a chapter in there called Chapter 12. It's the basics, and these are messages that were channeled to me from who tells me these messages. These are archangels. They're not men with wings and shields and swords. Not any of that mess. They're just beings of a higher consciousness. And so when I gave her the book to edit, she sent back Chapter 12 and said, this didn't need to be edited. And I said, yeah, I know. And she said, why was that? And I said, because the things that I wrote down didn't come from me. They came from archangels. So that's why everything else in the book needed to be edited. I mean, tell you, my grammar sucks, so I'm not very good at writing. I wrote all these giant paragraphs, and I actually handed it to my wife. Here, you want to read this? She's like, no, I ain't reading that mess, because she reads all the time. She's like, that'll give me a headache. So, yeah. So when I gave it to her, yeah, she looked at it and she said, none of this needs to be edited. I said it was perfect because I just wrote it down. I wrote it down as they told me to write it down. It just came through. So, and these were 25 channeled messages that came through. But the book, it's a story of me, how everything happened to me and for me. And the premise of the book, I mean, it's a lot of events that took place, a lot of the bigger events that took place. But the premise of the book is this: as if you're going through this type of thing, what I went through, know that you're not going through this alone. There are other people out there who are going through it or have been through it. Go out and find your people. Find who can help you, because if you can't help yourself with this, and with this type of thing, it's pretty difficult. Go out and find your people. But that's anything in the world. If you're having difficult times in your life, then go out and find some people who can help you.
Right.
And that's what it's about.
It is. When did you realize that you were a medium? I mean, have you always been like this, or did something happen to trigger this, or how long have you known this?
I've seen spirit ever since I was 3 years old. My whole family was seeing them, but I didn't know I was a medium until right before I was turning 50 years old. And the only thing that really triggered it was my wife went away on vacation for 2 weeks to visit her daughter out in California. And for 2 weeks, I saw everything you can imagine that was in my home that was in a scary movie. It was just, really? Yeah, it was intense. I was laying in bed and I saw this cloud come out of the corner of the room. And each night it was a different color. It was red, then the next night blue, and the next night green, the next night yellow. And then the next night after that would come through with red with black stripes, green with black stripes, blue with black stripes, yellow with black stripes. So it was just, I saw a cloud, a form above my bed. And when the cloud was sitting there, it kind of opened up like a window of blackness in the middle of it. And I saw this skeleton come out. He put his arms out, and then he pulled the body out. But the strange part was, not that it wasn't strange enough, but when he put his arms out, there was no hands on there. But he pulled the body out, and the body was looking around the room and looked at me a couple times and then looked around. And then this was right in front of me, and then it moved up above me, then it went behind me, and then it just disappeared. I was seeing green and red mist pour out of the walls, and I was seeing these little skulls come out of the walls with red eyes and fangs. I saw the famed Hat Man appear in my basement. So, yeah, it was kind of strange for about 2 weeks. I just saw some very unnerving things in my house. And then my wife came home from her vacation. She told me about her adventures, and then I told her about mine. I mean, she was very aware of me telling her stories before about all the spirit I've seen in my life, but this was a lot. This was more than what I would call normal, because I was used to seeing spirit all the time throughout my life. It's just this was a whole heck of a lot more.
So when you say you're used to seeing spirits, what kind of spirits were you seeing before?
I remember a time my grandfather was living with my mom and dad and I,
Hmm.
and he went to visit my uncle for a couple of weeks, and I was laying in his room looking at pictures of my grandmother who had passed away previously, and I laid down in his bed and was falling asleep. Now my sister was down too, and she had this little pet ferret with her, and that
Hmm.
thing was a pain in the butt. And it kept making all this noise. So when I was laying in bed, it kept making this noise. I kept telling it, "Hey, knock it off, knock it off." And then there was one time I sat up in bed to look, and when I did, I saw my grandmother sitting in the rocking chair in my grandfather's room, and it was rocking back and forth, and that's what was making all the noise. It was going.
Wow.
So I saw her sitting there, and she looked back at me because she was looking somewhere else. And she looked over at me, and when she saw me and saw that I was looking at her, her eyes just got real big, and then she just disappeared and was gone.
Like you weren't
I was
meant to see her.
Yeah, I saw my girlfriend and I were laying in bed one time watching the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and she was laying at the foot of the bed. I was at the other end, and the closet door was open, and something came out of the closet. It was maybe about 4 feet long and about 2 feet thick, and it kind of snaked its way across the room in front of the TV and just went across the room, and then it just disappeared. And then my girlfriend turned around. She said, "Did you see that?" I said, "Yeah, I saw it. Let's get the heck out of here," because it was kind of strange. But I would see shadow people walk in and out of the room all the time. There was a time I was playing in a band. I used to play drums. I had big hair at one time. It was
Hmm.
awesome, but not really. But I came home from a gig and I laid down in bed and something laid down next to me, and it happened 3 or 4 times, and I was like, "What's going on here?" And then that fifth time, I rolled over to see what it was, and whatever was there picked up the blanket I had on top of me, and it brought it up to the ceiling, and then it shook it above me, and then it dropped. And then I slept on the couch for 2 weeks after that, Paul,
Well,
because I was
yeah.
scared. Yeah.
I wouldn't even be in that house after that.
Well, what was I going to do? I was like 20 something years old. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, these are the type of things that I saw throughout my life, and it's just after a while, I explain it to people. It's like when we're kids and our mom and dad feed us green beans, and then 30 years later, you love green beans. Why?
Hmm.
Because you get used to it.
Hmm.
And you either do or you don't. I just got used to it.
Now, when you first started seeing the spirits and everything, were you ever like really just freaked out? Like, I can't handle this. What's going on? Did you ever seek help too for any of that?
Um,
Why this is
what,
happening to you?
yes. Yeah, right after that moment when my wife was gone, when she came back, we sought out help. I knew there was something to this, something more than that was going
Hmm.
on normally,
Hmm.
because my life is with spirit, I mean, even now. Um, I wanted to figure it out. I
Hmm.
wasn't, I was scared a little bit, but I did want to figure it out. I wanted to figure out what was going on. So we went on the internet, we looked around, uh, we did everything possible you could do, put salt around the room and all that stuff, and put up crosses, and that stuff doesn't work. You know what you're doing when you put salt around the room?
Hmm.
You're making your room salty. That's what you're doing. It
Yeah.
doesn't do anything. Crosses are a form of punishment. I mean, Jesus Christ did not volunteer to get on a cross. It's a form of punishment.
Hmm.
So why would you put a form of punishment up to make something evil go away? It doesn't work.
Hmm.
So we eventually sought out a paranormal group. We had one. We got a hold of who was actually going to come to the house, and they showed up in this little van outside my house. I looked out my window and I saw the little insignia on the van, and I just thought to myself, I don't want to be this kind of famous. I
Hmm.
don't want people thinking, they got the Blair Witch Project next to their home or something like that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for them, they did. So, but they came into the house. There was this one guy who was a leader, a woman. She was taking pictures. Another guy was just asking questions, and another guy was videotaping everything.
Hmm.
Um, the best part about that is when they came in the house, they witnessed everything that I was going through, and that everything my wife and I were both going through at that point.
Hmm.
And it gave us a sense of we no longer feel as though we are crazy. So that was a good thing. They were taking pictures the girl was taking pictures of me walking around the house, and I'd be standing next to one of the team members, or by myself, or someone else, my wife. But every time they took a picture of someone else, it was just a picture of them. When I was in the picture, there were 15 or 20 light orbs completely surrounding me.
Really?
Yeah, because she was taking pictures, and she said to one of the guys, "Hey, you got to check this out." He comes over and looks, and I said, "What do you got going on?" She's like, "Well, we're really not supposed to tell you till the big reveal, Mr. Jackson, but you got to see this." And I was like, looking at the pictures, I was like, "What's all that stuff?" And she said, "That's light orbs. That's spirit around you." I said, "How come there's so many around me? There's nothing around anybody else." She's like, "I don't know. I've never seen so many. Seen one or two or something like that, but not this many." And then, so they walked around the house and they wanted to see where I was having the issues at. And I said, "Well, we're at the whole entire house." And one guy said, "How about the bedroom?" I said, "Yeah, we can go in there." So we walk in. Oh, and they had these little boxes. They had all the accoutrement of everything. They had these little boxes that had lights on it, little wires sticking out of them. And
Spirit boxes.
they set them all up. Yeah, I was like, "What does these things do?" And he's like, "Well, they from electromagnetic field around it, they can pick up spirit through that way. It's like static electricity when they walk past it." And he rubbed his hand on the couch and he put it over the box, and the box went and lit up. And I was like, "Oh, well, that's cool, but whatever." So they set them all up around the house, and then we go to walk in the bedroom. I walk through the door, and every one of those boxes just lights up and goes and lights up.
Really?
I turn around to look at them, and they're looking at me like, "What's going on?" And I'm looking at them like, "I don't know what's going on." They walk through the doorway, nothing. They walk through the doorway. We go in. The video guy says, "I feel drawn to the closet. Let's go in there." I said, "Okay," because it's a walk-in. I walk in. He walks in. He's in there for maybe 10 seconds, and he's like, "I'm getting sick. I'm getting sick. I'm going to throw up." And I said, "All right, get out, get out, get out." And he gets out of the closet and sits on the bed. And I said, "You okay?" "Yeah." And I said, "Okay." I said, "You want to try again?" He's like, "Yeah, let's try again." He goes in. Same thing happens. He runs out, sits on the bed again. I said, "Are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah." He goes, "How come you're not getting sick?" I said, "I don't know. You tell me. You're the expert." So we go out of the bedroom. I walk out again. They all light up. They walk past. Nothing. They did a test once when it was at nighttime. All this stuff was at nighttime. They wanted me to go in the bedroom and pretend I was sleeping. And to see what they could get with one of those spirit boxes. So I go in, I'm sleeping, pretending, laying there. They come in the room, they turn the box on. As soon as they turn it on, it starts spitting out words. It says Wendy, Michael, Paul, Helen, unique, special, energy, light, in that like computer type voice. One of the words that came out, it said like the word road. It said road. I went road. When it said that, a car went past my house, and I was like, "What?"
Wow. Yeah.
So then they started asking questions. One of the questions they asked was, "Are you here to harm Daniel?" And then it came out again and said, "We are not here to harm Daniel. We love Daniel's light. Daniel is the light." When it said Daniel is the light, I was like, what is that supposed to mean? I mean, it didn't sound bad, but it was kind of strange. So they walked out of the room when it was done. This went on for like 10 minutes. I get up, I go out. They're all huddled up. I said to my wife, "What's going on?" She's like, "I don't know. They're talking about something." I mean, they did all kinds of tests. We went down to the basement. We're walking around, and I'm standing there talking to one of the guys, and I go to walk away, and he's like, "Mr. Jackson, can you come back here?" I was like, "Why? What's going on?" He's like, "Stand right in this spot here." I said, "Okay." He goes, "Now take your head and turn it around." I said, "What am I looking for?" He just, "Look at that mirror behind us," because there's a mirror leaning up against the wall. And I look and I turn around. When I did, the mirror is sitting there vibrating, going. I was like, that's strange. I turn back around and look at him. He says, all right, now walk away. I walk away, and it stopped. I walk back, and it's vibrating again. Just
Wow.
crazy, crazy things. We went into a dark room. They brought the recording devices in there. They said, let's turn all the lights off and see if we can get anything. Then we did that. And they said, is anyone here? And then from above us, you hear, and we're like, and there's darkness, and you can't see anybody in front of you. And
Right.
I was, did anybody hear anything? No, no, no. Let's try it again. Is anybody here? Same thing. Boom, boom, boom. And then on the floor, a big flash of light, like a light bulb, like turns on, turns off. And everybody's like, does anybody have, Mr. Jackson, do you have lights on the floor? I said, it's carpet on the floor. No, there's nothing here. My wife is standing by the switch. She turns on the switch. They're looking around. There's no lights on the floor. There's nothing there. It's a carpeted floor. So we leave. We go back upstairs. They're in this huddle again. And then I said, looking at my wife, we're looking at each other. They come out of the huddle. And they said, well, got an issue, Mr. Jackson. I said, an issue? What do you mean? He said, well, with the spirit box. I said, it wasn't like it was crazy stuff coming out of that spirit box or anything. And he said, no, that's not the issue. I said, well, what's the issue? He said, well, whenever we use that spirit box, we can get it to spit out 1 or 2 words. But it never says full sentences.
Wow.
And
you got it to say full sentences.
Full sentences, yeah, for 10 minutes.
Wow.
It just, every time they asked the question, it answered. I mean, what do you expect it to do? I didn't know what it was going to do either, So but it was just talking in full sentences. So they said, we're going to come back in 2 weeks. We're going to do a big reveal of everything. We're going to go through all the material. I said, so what am I supposed to do now? He said, well, here's some prayers I want you to do. Go on YouTube and look these up and then just play them. And then if you see any of the more of that crazy mist that you were seeing or anything, he gave me this bottle of water. He said, here, this is holy water. I want you to spray that in the area. You know what the holy water turned out to be?
What, tap water?
Water.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as holy water. It's all bullshit. So, because a man cannot bless something to make it holy.
Right.
Because spirit are not holy. They're just not. Only we are holy as human beings. But that's if you choose to be into that crap.
Right.
But they leave. They said, we'll be back in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. Finally get a hold of them after 6 weeks. And I said, so were you going to come back and do the big reveal? He said, no, I can't get the team together. He said, once we got out on your front lawn, they all quit. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, we don't get this kind of information from one home. He said, it usually takes 10 or 15 to get all this information, not just one.
Wow.
He said, they're too scared. They don't want to come back to your house. So,
Wow.
yeah, so I had to move on from that. And I eventually moved on and found some mediums. And they helped me more than anyone else did, which was good.
And, the spirits that were contacting, they weren't evil, were they?
Well, some of them.
Yeah.
Not all of them. There were some of them that were pretty horrible. They did. There's some things I mentioned in the book. They did some pretty horrible things. So, yeah.
Really? Okay.
One of them attacked my wife.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's.
My wife. We were talking. I was going to go drop a video off at the Red Box. Short plug. Not really. And my wife's doing some gardening in the back. She had a knife in one hand and a gardening tool. So I leave, and then I come back. And as soon as I pull up, I'm pulling up on my bike. My neighbor says, hey, something wrong with your wife? And I was like, I run back there, and my wife's laying on the ground. She's passed out. And I'm trying to wake her up. And he says, you want me to call 911? And I said, yeah, would you? So 911 gets there. They pull up in their ambulance, and my wife's laying on the ground. And they said, all right, well, we got to turn her over. We got to get her on this on the stretcher. I said, all right, we got to turn her over. And the knife she had was sticking in her stomach. But it only went in about an inch. But she was out. So they said, back away from the scene. I said, what? He said, it's a crime scene. I said, it's a gardening accident. So when we're finally able to get to the hospital, because the cops were bugging the crap out of me, trying to get a story out of me to get me to change the story after I told it 7 times, I get back to finally see my wife, and everybody cleared out of the room, and I said, "Are you okay?" She said, "I had a negative energy attack me," and I was like, "What?" She said, "I was in the back cutting some weeds, and something jerked me from behind." And when it turned me around, I saw this big, dark figure standing in front of me, and it tried to pull me forward down onto that knife. But one of your guides pulled me to the other side, to the left, and that's what made me go down the other way. And that's why the knife only went in a little bit.
Wow.
Because all my guides are archangels. That's who I communicate with. And so it tried to save her, and it did.
Well, that's good.
But that's what she told me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Nothing touches us ever since. Can't know.
Wow.
I didn't know I was a medium then, but once I got into it, and once I found out I was a medium, that's when everything changed.
So, I mean, you mentioned the Hat Man.
Strange.
Yeah.
Strange at first. Not anymore.
Yeah.
I see him once in a while. I just saw him about maybe 6 weeks ago.
I mean, this is blowing my mind. I mean, it's comes for a visit, comes for like Sunday dinner, or I mean, this is incredible. What does he do?
It was at first. That was the time when after the paranormal group was there. That's when I saw him. Or was it? My memory's fading on me. No, that was when my wife was gone. That's right. So my wife is gone. My cat is down in the basement hanging out. I go down there. I said, "Come on, buddy, it's time to go. Go upstairs." And he looks at me, and he looks to his right. I look to my left. I'm like, "What's he looking at?" And when I look to my left, I see this wall of blackness appear in the middle of the room, just appears. And then this man walks out of it. And this man had a wide rim hat. He had a long black coat. I could see his chin. I could see his nose. I couldn't see his face directly on because he was pointed, to my left. And then he just walked across the room. Now, again, I see so much. I notice the strange things. And when you're in a moment like that,
Right.
kind of like being in a car wreck where everything is in slow motion, I just notice things. And what I noticed is when he was walking across the floor, perfect stride, but he didn't have any feet. And I was like, that's strange.
Yeah.
And then he just kept walking, and he went through the wall, and then that was it. And then when I turned back, that wall of blackness just closed right up, and then my cat looked at me like, what the heck was that? And I was like, I don't know. I went over and picked him up, took him upstairs, but that was the first time. Now, and then maybe it was right after I found out I was a medium. I started seeing him on a regular basis, maybe every 3 or 4 weeks. But when I see him now, he comes through with, again, long coat, but he's got a fedora on, and he does not look human. He looks humanoid, but he doesn't look human. And from what I understand, the way he explained it to me was he comes here because in his dimension, he's alive. He's not in spirit. He's alive in another dimension. He comes through into our dimension because where he is at, people there cannot connect with spirit. And he is being paid by someone to come into our dimension to figure out how we do it. So he observes them. That's why he observes so many children. Because when you come into this world, when you come back into this world, because we all come from heaven, we all come here to learn and fulfill a purpose. But when we come back, because we do come back multiple times over and over and over again. Let me see real quick. So, Paul, you've been here 28 times. That quick, I asked them how many times you've been here. They told me 28. I said in my mind, did you say 28? And then they touched my eyebrow for 28.
Wow.
So you've been here 28 times. So when you wake up in a baby body, you go, wah, and your mom and dad's going, I'm your mom and dad. You're going, I don't know who the hell you are, but okay. And then they raise you. They teach you the ways of the world, and what they do is they throw a bucket of bleach over top of you, basically, and washing away all the purity that you just came with from heaven. But when you were here, up until the age around 6 or 7, with that purity, you're going to see things.
Mm-hmm.
You can see spirit, and some of them talk to you, and your mom and dad will tell you it's an imaginary friend and stuff like that. No.
Mm-hmm.
So he comes here to observe them, to see how they're doing it, seeing if there's a smoking gun or if there's a trick to be able to connect with spirit. But then he comes to the grown-up ones like myself who keep it, and he's trying to figure out. But I've told him, I said, there's nothing I can teach you. You either have this or you don't. Not everybody is meant to have it. And you can connect with your own intuition, but what that is you're connecting with your own soul.
Mm-hmm.
But are you absolutely connecting with spirit? Well, not everybody can. Again, you either have it or you don't. And all these other meetings out there saying, well, anybody can do it. No, they can't.
Right.
You have to be a very clear, free and clear person. You have to have a clear mind in order to get clear messages. And when you're walking around gossiping about everybody and everything in the world, and you're believing all the bullshit out there in the world, well, then no, you're not going to be clear enough in order to get those messages. But yeah, I see him, still see him. So like I said 6 weeks ago, he just comes in, tips his hat to me, says hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
when you were explaining the Hat Man, the way he was dressed, I got chills. Probably about, my son's 16, so probably about 17, 18 years ago, my wife it was late at night. I was working overnights, and my wife saw a black figure with a top hat, black long coat, didn't see any feet, coming up our steps.
Yeah.
Didn't do anything to her, didn't bother her. She saw it coming up the steps on the landing turn, come up the other steps towards her. And as it got close, it just faded away. I mean, we called it the Amish guy because to her, that's what it looked like. But
Sure.
You explained it perfectly, exactly how she explained it.
Sorry.
Word for word, exactly how she explained it. And I mean, I got shorts on and I got goosebumps all over my leg when you were doing that.
You know what the goosebumps are? You know what that means?
What?
That means your soul's coming through. Mm-hmm. That's not a nervous thing.
Yeah.
That's your soul letting you know, yes, this is real.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so wasn't the Amish guy. It was the Top Hat Man, or the
yeah. He's just here to observe. He's interdimensional.
Mm-hmm.
Like Bigfoot, same thing, interdimensional.
Mm-hmm.
They just come into this dimension because they can.
Mm-hmm. And
I
also
need to go into another dimension.
Like you said, when kids are younger, before 6 or whatever, my son, he was in the room with my wife, and he was asking a question or whatever, talking about her dad who had passed away before we were even married. And he said, "Oh, you mean the guy over there with the puffer? He smoked." He saw somebody sitting in the corner of the room smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, it was her dad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm being touched on my forehead saying, yeah, it was.
You did? Holy shit.
Yeah. He still hangs around your wife all the time.
Holy cow.
You can talk to her about it. She knows. She feels him.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
She's
freaking
aware
me out.
of it.
But I completely, I believe that. I mean, we haven't seen him or felt him, or he hasn't shown us a sign or anything, but yeah, that's amazing.
Oh, your wife picks up on people's emotions, though.
What did you say? I'm sorry.
Right? Your wife picks up on other people's emotions. Mm-hmm. Your wife's what they call an empath.
An empath?
Yeah, she picks up on other people's emotions that are around her.
Okay.
Yeah, talk to her about it.
I will. Interesting.
So tell me, yes, she is.
And you got the yes again.
Yeah, she doesn't. Unfortunately, she doesn't know how to ground. When I move my head like that, they're talking to me. She doesn't know how to ground though. In other words, your wife picks up when she's about to walk into a room. She picks up on the energies of other people, and then sometimes, and even before she goes in, and then she goes in, and it's like going into a smoky bar where it's like you go in, and then when she walks out, she still feels all of it all over her all the time. And then sometimes when she gets home, her emotions change very quickly, and because she doesn't know how to ground herself, by the end of the day, she's kind of like feeling crappy or starts to get a little bit emotional about things. Sometimes cries about things and stuff like that. Talk to her about it. She'll tell you.
So just to preface this to everybody, we have not met until, we've exchanged messages and stuff back and forth, but we have not met. You have no idea who my wife is, and you absolutely nailed it. Absolutely nailed it.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I mean, it's
No.
incredible. I mean, anybody
You
who
just need to.
Anybody who
She needs to
doesn't
work on
believe it, I
ground.
am here to say right now that you nailed it. You nailed it.
She needs to work on grounding because um, people would almost mistake it as being what do they call that? Bipolar, but she's not.
No.
She just gets very emotional by the end of the day. So what she needs to do is Google grounding, Google the word grounding, and see what it says and also Google the word empath and see what it says because it's been going on with her for her entire life, and it will continue in this negative sort of way if she doesn't do something about it.
Okay. That's very interesting. I completely lost other questions. Oh, you mentioned you mentioned the archangels.
Yeah.
What do they look like?
They don't look like what you think they look like. When I see them standing around me, it's like looking at 8-foot praying mantises standing around me.
Really?
Hundreds of them. Yeah.
I mean, they're not
Thousands.
the angels, the white with the wings and the gowns and everything like everybody
You know,
says.
they can show you the wings and stuff like that are different colors, things like that, because they want to put you at ease. They don't want you to be afraid of what they actually look like, but they show their true selves to me. Like Archangel Michael doesn't look like a man with a shield and a sword. He looks like a hybrid of a moose and a horse. He's got this wide head, but his eyes are kind of like wolf eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got this wide head, no antlers, but he's got these big floppy ears, and his body looks like a horse with this real short hair. But Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel, Amenadiel, Azrael, Mezzachine, Michael. Michael is the horse thing, but the other ones, they look like praying mantises. I've seen some of them look humanoid, but they're not human. But I only have one or two that actually were human. One of them, her name is Helen. She was an Egyptian princess a long time ago.
And what do these archangels do when they come and see you?
They tell me everything. They tell me information that I need to know. They give me messages for other people. Like when I just said that you've been here 28 times, they told me that. I didn't know. They just told it to me.
Wow.
They told me that your wife's an empath. They told me all the information that I just told you about your wife.
Wow.
I didn't know it, until we started talking. As soon as we started talking, we became connected. Mm-hmm. Because you and I come from the same place. Mm-hmm. The soul family. That's where we come from, because everyone's related. Like when you go back home, they're going to call you Paul, but the people who met you here. Because when you go back home, you don't just meet up with the 200 or 300 people you met here. Mm-hmm. You know everybody. Mm-hmm. Because you're related to everybody, because that's where you come from. You don't come from here, you come here. But they'll call you Paul. They'll call you some other names as well from your other previous lifetimes. And then they'll call you your original name. Your original name we cannot pronounce because we have a voice box. They don't talk like we do. They talk like what we would call telepathy. Mm-hmm. So your original name is more like a sound vibrational thing. You just can't pronounce it.
Very, very interesting. Very interesting.
What do you want to know about that? I've seen it a bunch of times.
What do I know about what?
Heaven. I see it a lot of times. They show it to me.
What's it like?
People there, it's strange to see. It's like being at an airport where you see a bunch of people waiting for someone to come through that doorway. Well, they're just kind of standing there because they know that you're coming through. Because they don't worry about that because you have a choice. When you pass away, you're going to stand up out of your body. You're going to wake up, look down, you're going to see your body and go, well, I guess I don't need that anymore. Take a step to the left, you look to the right, and you see a light turn on. And that's your own personal light. And you either walk in or you don't. And a lot of them don't. As many people that cross over into the light, there's that many that just don't. They stay here, what we call earthbound. But if you go in, they know when you're coming. So there's people just kind of standing there waiting. And then they come through and then they see them and they start hugging them. And I hear them talking, so glad to see you. I'm glad to see you back. And how was everything? And how was your trip? They say it like that. How was your trip? Because that's what it is.
Vacation,
And,
yeah.
Yeah, but a learning experience. You're here to do the human experience.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of move off. And then the next thing you see another crowd of people come up and then a couple more people come through. And then they showed me, one time they showed me, it's like I was standing in a room looking out of a window because I'm not supposed to really be there. So, but I'm looking through the window and I saw this woman walk by and she had on an Elizabethan type dress and a little boy with her and he was wearing like a little pantsuit. Now I saw buildings there and she was walking down a sidewalk, but it was like the sidewalk never ended. She just kept going.
Wow.
Kind of strange. And then they showed me this one scene. It was like they were at some type of like an amusement park or something. Now they were riding something that looked like a Ferris wheel, but it wasn't a Ferris wheel. I saw two guys driving in something that almost looked like a car, but it wasn't a car. I saw people there who, if you would look at them, and for me to describe them, the only thing I could describe them as being was, if you look at people who are in a cartoon, they look like cartoon people. That's what they look, and they are people. They just, I don't know if this is where we got the idea for cartoon people, but this is what they look like. And they're all just walking around and smiles, and it's all about positivity there. There's no negativity whatsoever. It's all about positivity and feeling good and all that. But it's a pretty neat place.
Are there dogs there?
There's everything there.
Okay.
There's everything there. You'll see Jesus there. You'll see archangels, and there's a hierarchy of all that too. You have God, archangels, what archangels call lesser angels because they just have less responsibility. These are the ones we say, oh, there's one with wings or something like that. No, that's all they are. And then you have spirit guides, and then you have spirit, then you have us, and then you have low energy spirit in that low energy place. What I call earthbound, but it's not just earth beings there because I see everything: dogs, cats, horses, cows, fish, people, and other beings from other world all the time. So I see some strange looking. Some things I can't even explain what they look like. It's unexplainable.
And you do this it just happens to you.
Yeah, I'm this.
Wow.
And just am. And it's getting stronger now too. In the very beginning I would get messages maybe 5% of the time, something would come in. Now it's 90%. It's changed. It's up to 90% now.
Wow.
So it's always coming in. I'm losing I have to, people ask me questions about my book. I have to revert back to the book because I don't remember all of it because I'm losing my memory because of all the information that's coming out all the time.
Wow. That's just incredible. I mean, I've never spoken to someone who knew they were a spirit medium, but this has been an incredible conversation.
I know something more than that about myself too.
What?
When you, like I said, when you stand up out of your body and you see the light and you go into the light, that's your personal light. That's what everyone gets. But there's always another light that shines all the time. It's called the light into heaven. This light is the light that shines all the time. So when spirit are walking around, they can see it. It's always off in the distance, and they can see it like a beacon of light. They know where to go to. And then they can also hear it. So like when we are standing around, when we're talking, spirit can tune that out because it becomes like static, like when we were kids watching TV and all the snow came on at 3 o'clock in the morning. They can tune all that out. But with this particular soul, it is a particular soul. This soul, when you leave your body, you will rise up and you'll go home. You've done it 27 other times. This soul doesn't do that. This soul has been here since the beginning of time. When the body that it's in expires, another one's born. It goes right automatically into that one. It doesn't go home first and then come back.
Mm-hmm.
It goes into that one and then wakes up and continues on. So when people say there's I'm an old soul. Well, this soul is the oldest soul. It's been here since the beginning.
Wow.
So because it volunteered to do that. It was an archangel. And God asked when he formed this world, hey, I need someone to go down and be the light that all spirit can see and hear so they can cross over. Because he gave us all free will to choose whether or not we want to cross over or not.
Right.
No one from religion can tell you where you're going to go. You go by your own choice. So they have to have the choice to go in whenever they want to. But they have to know where to go, how to get there, to see that light at the end of the tunnel, per se. So this light shines all the time so they can cross over at any time. It's me.
Wow.
It's
That's incredible. That is special.
People stand around me and the lights go off and they see flashes of light. There's people crossing over into my energy all day long.
Wow.
That's why I'm here. That's why I have such a deep connection with them, because I'm one of them. I'm the closest thing you're ever going to be to an archangel walking.
Yeah. That's incredible. Daniel, this is incredible. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. Kind of freaked me out a little bit there at one point, but I really enjoyed this. Now you mentioned we can get your book on Amazon.
Yes, you can. You go to Amazon. You punch in Daniel Jackson, The New Beginning: My Awakening as a Spirit Medium, and it's there as paperback or an ebook. The paperback version I think is $8, and the ebook is like $6.46. I'm not trying to sell a million books and make $1 million. I'm just trying to help 1 million people. So that's why we put it out so cheap, because we just want it to get out to everybody as much as we can. And then they can check the reviews on there. I got 5-star reviews on there. So
that's awesome.
But yeah, they just go on Amazon.
I'll provide the link to the books in the show notes, and it's on the bottom of the screen now. People can see it. And here's a copy of it here that's on the screen. Daniel, this is fascinating. I mean, we could talk another 10 hours about this, and I'd still have a ton of questions left.
Well, if you want to have me on another time, write some more questions down. I'll be glad to come back.
All right. I appreciate it. Daniel Jackson, everybody, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I wanted to plug your podcast, Beyond the Veil.
Oh,
where can we get
that?
That?
Yeah, it's called Beyond the Veil with Daniel Jackson. It's on the big ones, Spotify, Stitcher, or you can go to the website. It's www.beyond-the-veil.com. And you can check out the interviews that we've done, as well as the guest spots that I've done. So like when you get done with this show, you just give me the link, and then we'll put the link on my website so people can find it there as well. Because it does two things. So people can hear the interview, but they can also find another show to listen to, because we got to help each other,
Yeah.
But
exactly.
I'm on there. I'm on YouTube, so they can do the same thing. Look for Daniel Jackson Beyond the Veil on YouTube, and they'll find it there. Oh,
So
or if they want to get a reading with me too,
yeah.
they can find me at www.spiritmediumdaniel.com as well.
Okay, and I'll have all the links in the show notes after this show. So, Daniel, I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you having on me.
Well, what do you think? It certainly got me. Wasn't expecting the response that he gave me about the Hat Man story. Hopefully we'll get another chance to chat with Daniel down the road in a future episode. My thanks to Daniel for taking the time to chat with us. Once again, head on over to Amazon and pick up a copy of his book, the new beginning. Also, please leave a comment below and let me know what you think of this episode, or you can send me an email at paranormalamongus72@gmail.com. That's paranormalamongus72@gmail.com. And thank you all for watching this episode. Until next time, stay safe out there, everyone, and I will see you on the next episode of Paranormal Among Us.